Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on a MERN application, MERN stack application, and we're going to be using the Marvel API. Now hold up, I know what you guys are thinking. There's another video on my channel that uses the Marvel API to create a search engine that populates different Marvel characters in the descriptions. I know that. However, today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a website / web app. So it's going to have the feel of a website, but it's also going to be a web application where you can do different things. So it's going to have the aesthetic look of a regular website, whereas the one I built earlier just looked like a search engine and populates things. So we're going to be doing that. Two, what's going to be interesting is we're going to have authentication and authorization implemented with it. So you're going to be able to sign in, sign out, and you're going to have authorization. Well, you're going to have authorization implemented in. So you're only able to see certain things. For example, this application is going to have a saved feature, meaning if you see a character you like, you can simply click the save icon and it's going to save it to your profile. Just like if you went on Amazon and you click something to add to your cart and then you can go to your cart to view it, it's the same feature. So similar feature. So this one, you're able to do that. You're also able to remove that item from your saved tab. The difference is from the last one and this one, other than like everything I just said, is you're able to work with the database directly. So you're able to remove things from the database that's attached to your profile. So for example, if I save something in my profile, just like on Amazon, if I save something in my cart, if you sign into the same website, because you're signed in through with your credentials, you're not able to see mine. You can only see things you save to your cart. So we're implementing that to this. So we're going to implement that. We're working with a lot of database querying. We're also going to be using Node.js and Express.js for the backend rendering. We're going to be configuring our routes that way. And in the front end, we're going to be using React.js. We're going to be using Tailwind CSS, and we're going to be using Material UI. So these are things we're going to be using to build this app. With all that said, let's go right into what this application actually looks like. So if you come over here, you will see that this website is already deployed. I deployed it using render.com. Now, if you guys want me to show you how to deploy your website after we finish building it out, just let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I'm trying to grow this channel, but that's besides the point for right now. So this website is actually deployed. So as you can see, it's called Marvel Heroes. It has a bunch of well, it has this hover animation to it. Yeah, so let's go into register right now, and we're just gonna see how this works. So we're gonna say test YouTube 1 is our username, and we're gonna say test YouTube is our password. Let's register, and as you can see, it tells us that our profile has been created. Okay, now no, we don't want to save it. Let's see, can I remember what I just typed? Test YouTube 1, test YouTube. And we can sign in. And as you can see, so right now we're greeted with this cover image, and this cover image, what it's doing is just rendering information. So these are all comics pertaining to Spider-Man. Now, when you build yours, you can do whatever you want with it. You can render Spider-Man, you can render Wolverine, you can do a litany of things. But in this one, I chose to just render the Spider-Man comics. So it tells you who the creators are, it tells you the price of this comic, the issue number, and the page count. And of course, Marvel API does want us to provide this attribution text saying the data is provided by Marvel. So all this comes right from the Marvel API. Now you're able to scroll through it and do all this nice stuff. If you come down, you have the options between comics and characters. So for comics, for example, if I click on everything here renders Wolverine at this point, because that's what I wanted to do. You can choose whatever comics or a plethora of comics. Mix and match, it's all up to you. So here, we're just gonna click on Wolverine. And as you can see, it takes us to the Marvel website that has the comic there. It tells you the digital issue. You can enter your zip code to find a store where you can find it. So these are things we're going to implement into this. We can close this, and now I can also search Hulk within the comics tab and search, and it should populate the Hulk comics. So if I click on this one, it does pretty much the same thing. As you can see, it tells me where to get it. If I enter my zip code, it tells me the digital issue is not currently available. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice stuff. And this is right in the marvel.com website. So if you click out of this, now this is an interesting feature I think that I added. So here it shows you every Spider-Man, well, at least 12 Spider-Man characters, or the variants of Spider-Man. Now if I type in Hulk and I do that, the difference here is when I click on it, it tells me Hulk. It shows me that it tells me the description. Now here's the cool part. Here's where the JWT token comes in. Authentication authorization comes in. If I click on this heart shape, it tells me my character has saved successfully. Okay. Now if I click saved, as you can see, I see that character here. It tells me who it is. So test YouTube's saved character. That's what we have. And I can go back to home, and that's it. So now, what I forgot to say is with this also, you can also click whatever is here, and it takes you also right to that comic. So it's not really the most complicated site in terms of what it does, but it's a great intermediate to advanced, like you can scale this and build this up project that you can put up in your portfolio. So as you can see, whenever you sign in, you're greeted with the user, hi user, home, saved, and also if I activate this on a mobile, let's just go back to home. It looks great on a mobile screen. So whatever mobile device you're using, it's gonna look great. It's gonna have this, it's gonna be all accessible, everything's responsive. It does the same thing. If I go to saved, it works flawlessly. Now you can also add your flavor to it. You might not want this white background, but that's besides the point. You can do whatever you want with it. The thing is, it works great, and that's all we're asking for here. See, as you can see, if you hover on this, it changes color. Now the logout functionality. If I log out and I refresh this page, I don't care to do that. I refresh it, I am still logged out. So this is a great way to learn user authentication and authorization. Just a great app, if I might say so myself. Not because I built it, I guess. But yeah. So let's get right into it. So here's a visual of what we're going to be doing. So we have the client, which is us and our browser, and with that client, we're going to be trying to log in. And our login is going to be, well, we're just querying the database to see if our username and password are saved in the database. Now, if our database says no, there's no one such as this within the database, then we're going to get an error. So it's not going to do anything. However, if our credentials are correct, what we're going to be doing is going to say, all right, our server is going to generate this JWT. And for those who don't know what JWT means, it's JSON Web Token. So this token contains user information and permissions. It's not necessarily sensitive to, it's usually just like username and minor things like that. You don't want to store very sensitive information in there, as because JWT token is not necessarily, it doesn't encrypt things. It kind of just encapsulates it and serializes it. But that's that. If you really want to know more about that, I have another video for that. It's way back when I did it. I'll try and link it to this. But like I was saying, the server generates this JWT token. Afterwards, this token is sent to the client and it's saved as a cookie within the browser. So the browser holds onto this cookie, and this is basically how the browser knows if this person has logged in before, if it should save that person's information. Think about it, like we're going to use Amazon, for example. Again, when you sign into Amazon, it's going to save your cookies. So anytime you click out of Amazon, as long as you don't sign out and clear that cookie, or let's just say you don't sign out and you click out of the website and you go back to Amazon, 9 times out of 10, if you didn't clear the cookie, it's not gonna ask you to sign in again. It's not gonna do that. It's just gonna you're just gonna be able to go right into the website and do what you have to do under your profile. So that's what a cookie basically does. It's saved with it's browser facing, so it's saved within the client, and these are the steps that you take to authenticate and authorize your personnel. So the authentication takes place when you go from client to login. So if I can go client login database and it says yes, I am authenticated. So that means yes, my password and credentials worked. I can move on to the next step. Step one, complete. Now the authorization takes place with the JWT token all the way to the cookie. If this person doesn't have this cookie or this token, within this cookie, the information that's within it, you're not authorized to see certain things. So for in our case, our saved feature would be an authorization procedure. So if I save something within my profile, the next person can sign into their account, but that's their account. They're not authorized to see what's within my saved feature. That's pretty much the difference between authorization and authentication. That's how we can see it with this flowchart. I hope that made sense. So now let's get into our IDE. We're going to be using Visual Studio Code to code this up, and let's go. All right, guys. So I went ahead and I created the with our IDE, I created the Marvel Heroes YouTube folder. So it's going to be called Marvel_Heroes_YouTube. I created this folder, and within the folder we have client and we have server. The client holds the React. So I used npx create React app. So I'm gonna switch later to Vite, but right now we're gonna be using this for this particular project. So I have client, and within server I have npm init. So also within client I installed Tailwind CSS. So if you guys want to know how to do that, you can check every other video I've made concerning code that has to do with coding. That video will have Tailwind CSS. It's all I use for styling. And then on the server side, I just did npm init, so it just gives you this. So we can actually delete this right now since I don't really need this at the moment. So you should only have this when you do npm init. So right now, this is what our front end looks like. It's just empty because I went and deleted a bunch of files here. So this is all we're going to get. So what I want to do with you guys now is install the dependencies. So what we're going to do is say in the server folder, say npm init, and we're going to be installing about 10 dependencies right now. So express, axios, bcrypt, hopefully I'm spelling all this right, cookie parser, cores, crypto. Do we need crypto? Yes, crypto.env. Let's do all this first. See if, yeah, I believe crypto is no longer support. Yeah, that's what I thought. So clear, it's fine. You can just go ahead and do that. I'm just talking out loud to myself. So .env, npm install.env. I just want to make sure all that installed. Now we need JSON web token. Now we need mongoose, and we need nodemon. Let's see. Oh, yep. So we have all our 10 dependencies right now. Now, are we going to need more than 10? Time will tell. I don't really. These are the 10 that I know that we need at this very moment. So it could increase later on. And then for the front end, all we're going to need really is Axios at this point. Oh, Axios React router. There it is, React router DOM. So that's going to handle our route system in the front end. And bam. So there we go. So React router DOM. I don't know why I spaced out on that. So that's basically what we need for the front end. So I think I'm going to section this video into 2 parts at least. So it's going to be quite long, but I'm going to try and keep it up to 2 parts. If it's too long, I'll make it 3 parts. But the reason I say that is because we're going to be doing a lot of jumping between front and back end. So it might take up some time, but I mean, it's a great app. It's a great learning tool, so it shouldn't be that bad. So let's get right into it. So let's just close out our client for right now, and let's go right to the server. And within our server, we have this, and we're just gonna change test. Actually, we can leave that. That's fine. And we can say start, and start is going to be, I don't know why that's there. That's going to be nodemon index.js. So that's just to start our server. So now what we have to do is go within server, put index.js, because that's going to be the file we use. And within index.js, we're going to build out our file. We're going to build out our server. So we're going to say const express, since we're going to be using express framework, require express. We're going to say const app is express. Awesome. And now we're going to say require, remember we put in a .env, so .env. And for those of you who don't really know what I'm doing or get lost when I'm doing things, just don't forget to don't be sure to write a comment out. We all start somewhere, so I don't mind helping you out. I can read through the comments and see where you got stuck, and if I can, I will try and to the best of my abilities try and figure out what's going on and why you're stuck. Actually, let's just make this port 5000. Yeah, so that's easier. So port 5000, we're going to say const host name is equal to localhost. I'm going to say const. And this, what I'm doing right now, is pretty standard. So if you look at any of my old videos, I've been doing this. So that's why I'm kind of speeding through it. It should be just second nature by now if you're used to building this. If not, what I'm doing is I'm just installing all the dependencies. Well, every dependency I'm going to be using, I'm just bringing them into this index.js. It's going to act as my home file per se. It's like the source file where everything's going to be connected to. So it's the pilot file, let's put it that way. So we have mongoose, and for mongoose, we're going to say require mongoose. Awesome. And now let's keep it at this for right now. So let's come down here, and we're going to be saying app.use course. So now we're going to be able to use this. I'm going to say credentials is true. So don't forget to put this in, because this is going to allow you to pass basically credentials from your back end to your from your front end to your back end, vice versa, kind of thing. So we're going to be using the origin is going to be localhost 3000, because that's where our front end is running. So HTTP, don't forget that part either, and it's going to be localhost 3000. Cool. So now we've just given it we've just given access to our front end, so we shouldn't have any cores issue. Knock on wood. So app.use express.json, app.use cookie parser, and yeah, we're all good. So this is pretty much us initializing all that. And what we're going to do now is actually start our server. App.listen, and we should say host. That should come first. And no, port and port, and then host name. Give us this arrow, and we're going to say console.log. The database, actually, let's use backticks. Yep, backticks. The database is running on host name and port. So now if we start the server, npm start, you can see the database is running on localhost 5000. Cool. So now we have basically the simplest step set up. So before we do anything, let's go right into MongoDB and create a database for our application. So if we go, I'm already signed into MongoDB, so just go straight into MongoDB like so, and then hit new project. And with this new project, I'm just going to call it Marvel Heroes YouTube. Yeah, let's see what I named the other projects actually. Yeah, we could just name it that because I want to make sure I didn't make something similar. Yeah, so let's just say Marvel, Marvel Heroes YouTube. Next, yes, I am the project owner, so create project. Cool. And now if we go over to create, just make sure you pick the free one. This is not anything special, so just hit free. Okay, so now the username and whatever. So actually, let's leave that as is. Yeah, so we're just gonna leave this as is or not. It doesn't really matter. So we're going to keep it at that. The password, as you can see, it generates a secure password for you. You can choose to keep it or not. Since you guys have seen this, I'm going to basically create another password, especially one that I can remember. And then I'm going to come back and show you what we're doing next. So I'll see you guys once I'm done doing that. Okay, so as you can see, now our database has been created. All that's left now is for us to click this connect feature. So when we hit this connect, it's going to show us a bunch of stuff. Just go ahead and hit driver. And when you do that, it's going to show you this. This is what we need. So let's go right back into our MongoDB and let's create this file called .env. This is where you're going to store all your credentials. So for this credential, what we're going to call it is MongoDB, and it's going to have this. Let's go back. Oh, hopefully I didn't close out of that. Nope. So let's see. Let's go right back to MongoDB. Hopefully I don't have to log in again. Yep. So, well, as you can see what cookies does firsthand, my cookies is expired, and bam, I am able to go. Well, I guess it didn't expire, but I'm able to go back in. So now I can connect again. Driver. Now, see, we're still in that driver MongoDB, and all I have to do is grab this, add your connection string to your into your application code. I'm just grabbing that, come right back into Visual Studio Code and pop that in there. So the only thing now is for this password, we have to take that out, just that, and place our own password in. So when we do that, we come right into index.js and right below Mongoose. So actually, let's do something here. So this is a little bit out of whack. So let's just grab a host name and this, and let's pop this down here. Cool. And what should we do next? So the order of things is very important in MongoDB. I say Mongo in JavaScript because it reads it top to bottom. So we have to make sure we have things in order, unless it will not work. So here we have cores, then we have cookie parser. So we have to have cores up here, then cookie parser. Also, we have .env first, cores that. So we have to keep it the same way. So what we're gonna do now is say const MongoDB is equal to require. Not require, sorry. It's going to be process.env dot, what did we call it here? We called it MongoDB. So just remember to have process.env and say Mongo, did we just call it MongoDB or Mongo underscore? Yeah, Mongo underscore DB. So we have to do this. Okay, actually, let's move this up here. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so let's keep it this way. So this should be okay. Yeah, this should be okay. So we're good. And now that we have MongoDB here, what we have to do is now initialize it and connect it. Mine's gonna give us an error at this moment because I didn't put the password. But what you guys need to do, just take out this little password part from this greater than less than sign to this greater than sign. Take everything out and pop your password in there. The password that you created. So when you do that, what you have to do is make sure you do it before the listen. You got to say mongoose. So we're back to lowercase dot connect MongoDB. So we're connecting our MongoDB. And then we're going to console.log the database, just like we did for app.listen, is connected. Now, as I said, mine's not going to do that because I didn't finish it out. So when we do that, we're going to say, actually, let's come here and say catch. And we're going to be catching the error. And the error is going to be console.log error. So if there's an error, you're going to console.log it. Yep. And as you can see, there's a handshake error, so it didn't connect. As I said, there's going to be an error. I didn't put mine, but yours should not give an error. So I'm going to put mine in later on. One, I forgot the password I picked. Two, we're going to be doing a lot more things within .env. But just as a quick tip, we're going to also do this within our server. Let's do this and say .get ignore. And what we are going to do here is we're going to place our .env file within our get ignore and also our node modules. And this is so people don't have access to what's in our so basically when we push things to Git, our .env is not included. Also, when we try to render or whatever, we're not using these node modules. It's a huge file and we don't really need it. So wherever you deploy your app or render your site, it's going to install the dependencies via the engine it's running, so we don't have to like include it in our git file. So we just do that, and that way if you are pushing things to Git, no one has access to your credentials. It's safely secure in your .env file. Okay, so we have that. And now we're just going to keep this error for right now. All I'm going to do is going to do that, and our error is gone. So just, you don't have to do that. I'm just doing that because I have to add a lot of things to this .env, and I don't want to show the password at this moment, and I forgot it. So now what we can do is create within this server. So what we're doing right now is we're literally just building the foundation for everything, so we don't have to do it as we go. We're just going to build out the model, we're going to build out the routes, and then we're going to add things to it. So here within the server, we're going to add a folder, and this is going to be our model route. We're going to be using the MVC method, so model controller, MVC, model views and controller. So our model is going to house our database query or schema. So it's going to house it, and this is going to house our user. So our user sign in and all that good stuff. So in here, we're going to initialize mongoose and say require mongoose. We're going to say const. Actually, let's just come down here and say const user schema. So that's what we're going to be calling the schema. It's going to be user schema. And we're going to say mongoose dot schema. There we go. Awesome. Now we're going to create the username. The type is going to be string. Username should be this. It should be it's it's a colon. I don't know why that was so hard. Require, I think once you see the red mark, you just freak out like, what's going on? True. And unique is true. Okay, so now I will explain. Let's just put a comma here and then say password, and then I'll explain what we're doing. Type is also going to be string. Awesome. And that's not type. Require is true. Cool. And all we're going to say is time stamp. Just follow along right now, and I will explain in a second what we're doing. Okay, so now what we just did is we built out our schema, right? And our schema is going to house the username and the password. the username, the type is going to be string. So there are various types in JavaScript. There's Boolean, there's string, there's integer slash like numbers, there's blah blah blah. I believe there's like 7. But in this type, we're going to be using string. It's going to be a string. That's what our username is. We're going to have to require it, which is true, unique true. So require means for this to for anything to save within this schema. So if I try to register myself and I say, hey, my name is Akin, and let's say my name is Akin, right? And I forget to fill out the username, but I fill out the password as Akin. It's not gonna save because there's nothing within the username that's being saved. But if I don't require it, then I can just save a password and forget about the username and keep going on about my business. It's not going to send me an error or anything. But because I require a username and I require a password, it's not going to let me go forward saving my credentials without those two. Now, unique is different. Unique just means I can't have the same username in a database as somebody else. So if my name is Akin and someone else's name is Akin, we can't have the same username because it just no. So that's how I made it. Now some people they might do like full name and then that one not be unique and then the username be unique. So I'm only using username and password for the sake of time. So we're just going to keep it as this, and that's all we're doing. We don't want our password to be unique because no one knows your password. So if you start making passwords unique, it's just now you're telling people like, hey, that's someone else's password, and you're playing the game of probability. So you don't want that. My password can be the same as your password, but if we don't know that, it's fine. But the username cannot be the same. So that's all that's going on. So now we're going to say const user, and user is going to equal it's going to be our model name. So this whole model. So mongoose dot model, and we're going to give it a name. We're going to call it user, and it's pertaining to the user schema. Awesome. As you can see, there's no error, everything compiled, we're all straight. Okay, so this is what we're building. This is what our register and our logins, this is all that's working right now. So as we do that, let's go over and create, as I said, we're using an MVC. So we're going to let's create the C portion first, so the controller, and we're just going to call it controller. And within controller, we're going to create a file called auth controller.js. And this is where we get to authenticate. This is where we get to build out the logic behind login, register, and things as such. So what we're going to do is say const mongoose is equal to require mongoose. Const user is equal to require, and this is our model. So dot mod, it's going to be, there we go, model slash user. So we're going to be requiring that const. Remember when we had bcrypt? I think it's now just a part of Node.js. npm, it's within npm already, so you might not need to have like installed it, but it doesn't hurt regardless. So const, we're going to call this JWT just to shorten it, and it's going to be like you guys think it is, JSON web token. Now we're going to pass in something called a secret, and the secret is going to be within not there, it's going to be within .env. Like I said, we're going to be passing a lot of things. Oh yeah, don't forget to put this in a string. I like to put it in yeah, that's something I forgot to say. I like to put it between backticks, but you can just put it between string, it's fine. So you need that because it's a string. So now we have secret. So secret, and secret is going to be another string. However, how we're going to get secret, I will get to. But for right now, let's just require. Oh, does it require? Oh, process. Process.env.secret. So now we have that, and let's just keep it at that for right now. So in .env, how do we get our secret? So this is a little, this is actually pretty cool. So we're gonna say node, and we're gonna be requiring crypto. So require crypto, okay, and then we're gonna say .random bytes, and I'll explain in a second what we're doing. Random, I just want to make sure I spelled everything right because I want to do this again. To string, awesome. I don't know if that's supposed to be in camel case or it doesn't matter. Yeah, there we go. So that's the problem. So require crypto, okay, and then random bytes. Watch me be spelling something wrong. 35 dot to string. There we go. Hex. There we go. Yeah, so they have to be in camel case. So what we just did now is create, let me just pose this question. Can you think of a string this long with this complex? No. If you can, kudos to you, but it's really hard. So to think of something this long and complex, it's this. So what we just did is we just created a string that it's pretty much like it looks like an encrypted string, and what we're doing is using that as our secret for JWT, because it's going to request a secret from us. But that's what we're doing. We're just creating a secret that we're going to be using to sign our JWT. That's pretty much it. Because you can also just put your secret as like 1, 2, 3, but that's not secure at all, like at all. So it's better you grab this and you use that as your secret. So I'm not going to use this one because you've already seen it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this again later, and I'm going to pop it in there. So for right now, my secret's going to be empty. Now that we have controller set up, what we can do is come back to server and create views. Views is going to handle our routes. That's pretty much all views does. It just takes routes and says, hey, this is where you're going, and cool. So within views, we're gonna have what are we gonna call this? Let's see what I called it in my other video, in my other thing. I just want to keep everything about the same. So let's see, index.js. What did I call the view? I called it routes. I just called it routes. And okay, cool. So we're just gonna call this routes, and that's gonna be fine. Routes.js. I just want to make sure everything goes together. So const, what's it called again? Express. I don't know why I'm just tweaking out here. Let me just copy this. Okay, cool. And then I'm just gonna pop this in here. So we're gonna say const express is equal to require express. Sorry guys, I am starving. So const express is equal to require express. It's the same thing we did in index.js. So const express equals require express. So we're just requiring express here. And then our routes is going to be equal to express.router. So that's what we're going to be using. So now we can say export modules is equal to routes. Did I spell that wrong? Or is it module.export? I don't know why I'm tweaking that. Yeah, module.exports. I don't, forgive me guys. Module.exports, there we go, is equal to routes. So we're taking whatever routes we're gonna have here and we're popping that right into index.js. And that should go before this. So our routes is gonna be up here. Actually, no, our route's gonna be down here. But what we're going to do is we're going to initialize it up here. So we're going to say const route is equal to require. So we're getting that route here, and views and routes. So that's what we're doing here. We're just getting the routes up here, and then we're going to come down here and use that route. So it's going to be above Mongoose, but so app dot use and we're going to be using what's it called, routes. Actually, we could just call it auth route, so we know what we're talking about. Yeah, auth route. Okay, so, and now remember when I said all views does is tell us what path we're going? So we're going to be saying everything within this route file, everything that has to do with the routes we're putting in this route.js is going to have the precursor route of the precursor link of /auth. So it has to go, let's say you're trying to log in, it'll have to go localhost blah 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 /auth /login or /register. That's what it's doing. It's giving you something, a precursor before your actual link. That's all it's doing. This is just telling it what path we're using. So we can come back here, and now we can take that route, and now that we have that route, we're gonna just say routes dot get or post. We can just leave this right now. Yeah, we can leave it for right now. Let's just close out of this and see if everything works. Yeah, so we'll just leave that for right now. So here's where we want to build stuff out. So for this, what we want to do is build out the register, and this is now where we're going to implement the register here. So it's going to be what do you call it? Our register is going to be a post. So within this, we're going to say export.register is equal to async request response const username and password is equal to request.body. Okay, what did we just do here? What we just did was say okay, let's go here and just routes. Is it routes? Yeah, dot post. What did we call it? /register. We're gonna say we're posting to /register. So now remember when I said it's gonna be localhost blah 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 /auth /register. So that's what this is. So it's /auth preceding it and then /register. And so the controller that's going to be attached to it is going to be called, let's see. Okay, that's why I want to make sure that I already had the exports on it. So it's going to be register. So we're exporting this register into this, and as you can see, it just automatically does it for us. It just comes into register here. That's all we need. So so what we're doing now is saying for register, if we come here, let's use this and we go to register, right? We have username and we have the password field, right? In the front end. This is going to serve as our front end. Now, let's go back to routes. Let's go back to controller. We're grabbing whatever we place into this as the username, into this field as the username, or we're grabbing whatever we place into this field as the password by requesting it from the body. That's all we're doing. And we build on this furthermore in the front end. So for right now, that's all basically we're doing in the back end. So we're going to grab this, right? And what we're going to say is, let's bring this down here. What we're going to say is try and catch if no username was passed or no password was passed, then we're just going to say it was a complete fail. We're just going to return res.status 401, which says there was nothing passed. There was no credentials. So message, please provide credentials. And as we can see, I believe that's a front end error. So error 401. Yeah, the client request has not been completed. So it's more of a front end error. So that's all 401 is. So it's saying, hey, front end, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. There's an error. Provide those details for us. And now we're going to say if there is, well, let's create this first. So const existing user. So why would you register again if you are already a user, right? So we're gonna say await. Remember to add this async here, because this await's not going to work if you forget this async. So await user. Remember, user is mongoose property, so it's from the model. Find one. Awesome. Why is it not turning green? Usually it turns green. Maybe I'm just tweaking. So define one username. Cool. So what we're saying here is, okay, it's still running. So what we're saying here is, if there's a user already, then find it in the username. Find it within the database. So we're querying the database and saying, hey, per the user, so per the model that everything was saved to, find this username that was passed in. So if I pass in a key in here, before it says, okay, you're registered, first of all, look to see if this person's an existing user. So we go through the steps from top to bottom. We've already seen that, okay, this person has a username and a password in the system. Well, inputted in here when they hit register. They posted a username and a password. So now our next step is to see if this is an existing user. If it is an existing user, now what we have to do is come down here and say if, not image, if existing user, then we want to return another error saying, hey, status 400 dot message dot JSON message, and this message is gonna say user already exists, man. Please log in. Like, don't waste our time here. Like, you're already you're already a user. Log in. And that's the code it's saying. Now 400 error is, there it is, describes an error caused by an invalid request. So it's just telling us that, hey, we're not going to do what you said. Why? Because you're already in the system. So it's invalid. We're not going to save you twice. You taking up space, man. So that's all it's doing. Now, so if the user exists, we're returning that. If the user does not exist, so now we're actually creating the user. If it does not exist, what we're going to say is const hash password. Let's make it a camel case. So we want our password to be hashed. And what this means is, in this database, in our database, we don't want our password to just be all out willy-nilly. Yeah. We don't want our password to just be there. Like, I shouldn't save a key as a username in a database, and then under password, I don't want to save the password also. Let's say the password is a water bottle. I don't want it to just show in our database Akin's username is Akin's username is Akin and his password is water bottle. That is a huge security problem. Why? Because if someone breaks in and just steals information from the database, let's say I left my database open and someone just steals all the data from it, they just old school fashioned way, they just write down all the information. Now everyone's password is in everyone's accounts in jeopardy because everyone can just see the password. However, if we do something like this, I closed it out. Basically, if we have that secret that I showed you earlier that we created with crypto, then no one would know what the password is. It's hashed, it's encrypted. No one would know what that long piece of string was that we had. No one would know what that means, and there's no way to reverse that. So to say, hey, that's what it means, this long string actually means water bottle, no one can say that. So that's what we're going to be doing here. So remember, you need the async here for this await to work, and we're going to say await bcrypt. So here's where bcrypt comes, and we're going to be hashing it. So and we're going to say we're going to take in a password and we're going to salt it. I believe that's what the 10 is. Yeah, we're just salt rounds is 10. So that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be hashing it. Okay, so now all we're going to say is, and this is going to give us an error because remember what I said, we did not save we did not put the secret in there. So new user.save. We didn't put we're not actually connected to our database is what I'm trying to say. So it's not going to do anything. So new user. So what we just said is, actually, we did not finish this. So now we're going to send in res.status, and we're going to send in the 200, and everyone knows what a 200 is because that's what everyone looks for. It's a success code, and it says message profile created, and that is awesome. So let's run this back. We get the username and the password from the body. This goes in, we get it in the backend. It checks to see if the username and the password were passed. If it's not passed, it's going to ask you to, it's going to say, hey, 401 error. You're wasting our time here. Like, the front end is not doing what it's supposed to. Provide the credentials, right? But if this is an if, so there has to be an else, right? So if this is going on, and then now we can say if the username and the password are created, let's find out if they're an existing user. So we're going to create this constant called existing user, and we're going to query the database and say, hey, find this username. If it's within the database, then you're an existing user, right? That's the only way you would be in the database. So if you're an existing user, then return res.status 400, meaning you're wasting my time here. Like, it's invalid. There's an error. I'm not going to do what you're saying because you're already, and the message is user already exists. Please log in. However, so think of this as a if, else if, and then an else. So now if we've gone through all these checkpoints and we're saying, hey, this person's not in the system, so this person is not an existing user, then we want to create something called a hash password. That's what we want to create. So we're going to create this hash password and hash our actual password up. See, that's why it's good to go over your stuff because I actually missed something. And then we're going to say const new user is equal to new user. I knew I was forgetting something. New is just pertaining to is a MongoDB object that pertains to basically MongoDB. It's saying create this user within the database. So we're saying const new user is equal to new user, and for our new user, what we're going to be creating is our username, and we're going to take this password, and it's going to now be called hash password. So our password is going to be saved in the database as hash password. So this is why it's good to go over your code again, because I knew I was missing a step. And then await new user.save. So now we're just saving this new user, right? And then when we save it, we want to tell we want to send a response to the server saying, hey, it's a 200, it's successful. And the message that we're sending is, yo, your profile was created. It's awesome. So now catch error. We're going to say console.error. Jesus, I can't spell. Error. And we're going to say res.status. So now we're sending the status code and saying, hey, bro, it's a 500. There's a server error. .json. And the message is going to be, there was a server error. There we go. So now we just created the register portion. Voila. So let's create the login portion. And we can see actually, let's do this. Let's turn on Postman. Because we're going to, so if you guys don't have something called Postman, I'll recommend you download that Postman agent. If not, I believe you can use client within your IDE, but I think it's curl or something like that, but I just prefer using Postman. So it's on right now. Now I can just go to postman.com and I can just sign in and sign in. So now that I'm signed in, I can just go straight to my workspace. Oh, nope, that's not what I want. Cancel. I can just go to my workspace. Awesome. So I will go ahead and I will actually place my password and everything within the database so that everything works. But I forgot the password I picked, so now I got to do it over. Okay, so we're back in business. The database is connected. So if I go to connect, no, not connect, what am I doing? Browse collections. As you can see, users is right there. So it says users. And why does it say users? Because that's what we called it. So if we go back to model, or model, what did I call it? Model. It's saved as user. So it's going to be users. So yeah. Oh, actually, that's not right at all. So I forgot to export it. So module, so that's something we forgot to do. That exports equals user. Yeah, so if yours didn't work, just I'll put a note or in production just to say, hey, don't forget to export it as user. So now if I go back here, there should be a couple of things that change color. Yep, as you can see, now it's users in green. Why? Because it's actually activated. So let's go ahead and refresh this. Cool. So query result is still 0 because we didn't save anything within it. So now within Postman, what we're going to be doing here with Postman is we're going to be using HTTP. We're going to have a post first of all, and it's going to be HTTP. And here we're just going to be using this as a middleman. So HTTP localhost 5000. And remember I called it auth/register, and it's a post. So if I come back to my routes, as you can see, that's what the route is, and register has been imported. So let's just see if what we just built work. So let's go to body. We're going to go to raw, and we're going to go to JSON. We're going to be sending the JSON, and we're going to say username. This should actually also be in this, and this should say, let's call it test 1. And we're going to say password is also test. We're just going to call it test, whatever. And we're going to send this. And as you can see, our message says profile created. What did we say was the success here? Let's close all this out because we don't care. User.js, we don't care. So what did we say to send back if we did create the user? A status of 200 with a message saying profile created. So now let's walk over to our MongoDB and let's refresh this. Bam! So our username is test1, and as you can see, our password is this long string of encrypted string. This is what I meant when I said we're hashing the password. Why? Because now if I left this open and someone stole this password, which is still not advisable, do not do that. They will have a hard time trying to figure out what this password meant. Whereas this password just says test. That's all it does. So, but rather than just have password out here saying test, it's just this. It's this long encrypted string. So that's all we're doing. So now login is going to be a tad bit different, and say exports.login is equal to async request response is equal to, cool. Now we can say const username password is equal to request.body. Awesome. Now we can say try catch. Let's just give it some space here. And within try, we're going to say const user is equal to await. We're going to grab the user again. Find one. And we're finding the username. Okay, so from the last thing, we should know what's going on right now just with this. So we're saying, okay, now we're in the login page, right? So we're going to login, right? So now we've registered, everything's copacetic. We're all registered. Now for username, so if I put in username Akeem, right? We have no Akeem in the system, right? First we have to check to see. Okay, so we're on the login page. Let's see if this user exists. Basically, const user equals find one. Const user equals within the user model. We're going to find one username. We're going to look for this username, right? And if the username does not exist, what are we going to say? We're going to return, wait, why is this wrong? Okay. We're going to return a res.status of 401, right? And as you guys remember, what does 401 tell us? 401 tells us, hey, front end, do your job. You're sending me the wrong data here. It's not working out. You know, like I don't like what you're sending right now. So error message saying invalid credentials, like front end, do your job, man. 401 error. You're not sending me the proper stuff. So basically it's telling the user, hey, you are sending me the wrong stuff. I'm not gonna let you in. The opposite of if the user's not there is if the user is there, right? So we don't have to write the logic saying, hey, but if the user is there. So we just know that this next logic we're writing is going to be attached to, it's going to depend on if there is a user, right? Because if there's no user, it just ends here, right? That's the end of the code. It's done. It just returns that and it moves on. But now if there is a user, what we're going to do is we're going to say const is password valid, right? And that is going to equal await decrypt. And the reason we're doing this is because you remember over here we hashed the password, and now in the database the password looks like this. We're not going to write all this out in our front end as the password because that's the only way you can get in. It has to verify that that's your password. And you typed in test to register, but it gave you this long string. Now, how do you know what this string is? One, and how are you going to remember it, even if you did know it, to put it in there? So the way around that is they go, let's compare this password that we have here that you just typed in. So we're going to compare the password that you typed in with the user dot password. Right? So now if password valid, if that is not valid, like if it's not valid, we're going to return res.status of 401, which is saying, hey, user, front end dude, you're messing up, man, big time. Like, I'm just going to send you the message, passive aggressive, saying, hey, invalid credentials, my boy. That's what I'm going to send you. I'm going to tell you them credentials is beyond invalid, my boy. Now, if it is, now remember, we don't have to say if password valid or whatever. We already know this is what's going to go. It can't go past this if the password is invalid. It's not going to go on to the next one. It's just going to say, all right, well, I'm done. So now if it doesn't have to go through this, if it's like, hey, the password is valid, cut, then we're going to say const, this is where tokens come in. We're going to say, all right, it's valid. Let's give this guy a token to take along with them. So token.jwt sign. So now, okay, my boy, you have been signed in. Your logic, your password checks out, your username checks out. On the way through, I'm going to give you this token of appreciation. So basically, I'm going to attach to your name this token, my boy. So here, take this token. And within this token, we're going to insert the payload of the user ID. So user ID is going to equal user dot underscore ID. And why is it that? Because if you look over here, user has this ID that's called underscore ID, and it's giving you an object ID. So test one, their ID number, think of being in school and having an ID number. This is what the ID number is. It's only It only pertains to the user to test one. That's what this ID is for. It's your name. If you went to high school or you went to any school with, or you work in any kind of place where they give you an ID number to like scan in every day or whatever, like you have a badge number. That badge number is only pertains to you. That's what this object ID is. So we're saying, hey, my boy, on your way, you're gonna have to take this token that we're going to create this token for you that's going to include your ID number. So yeah, you were able to go. We're just going to give you an ID number so you can scan in. That's all it is. Like, hey, you work in this spot. The day you go for your first day of orientation, we know your name. That's cool. We know you're supposed to be here. That's cool. Now, so that every other security device here knows that, hey, you have access to be in here. They don't know your name. We know your name. We're just going to give you this ID number that's going to allow everyone here to know, hey, yeah, my boy's supposed to be here. That's all it's doing. So it's going to pass on this ID, but instead of calling it user ID, we're just going to give it a better name because no one wants to type this out. So we're going to say user ID is equal to user._ID. That's all we're saying. Like, that's all we're passing it in right now. So we're doing that. Now, remember that secret I was telling you about? Yeah, you're going to have to hold this secret, my boy. So the secret shows that, hey, no one opened up and tampered with this token. The secret shows that, hey, anytime we have anything to do with this, anytime this token has to do anything, it can corroborate with the server and say, hey, these secrets the same thing. It's not been tampered with. So no one knows the secret. It was not changed. We can go ahead and do whatever we're doing. So the secret wasn't changed. That's literally all we're doing, right? And now we're gonna say expires in, and we're gonna give it time, 1 hour. So within an hour of wherever you go. So let's say you take that badge. Let's say you work in Oscorp Enterprises, and you go into one of those like secret rooms, like you're Peter Parker, you go into one of them secret rooms, right? And you use your badge. That badge, and they're like, hey, everyone in this room can only be in here for an hour. That's what that badge is saying. That's what this expires in is saying. It's like, hey, you can go in this room, but after an hour, you better be out because that badge is going to expire. You're going to need a new one. You're going to have to go in and get a new badge to scan in, which is also going to expire in an hour. So yeah, now let's see. So now we have this token, right? So now here's where the cookie part comes in. So the server here is creating this token, but the token is being saved in the browser as a cookie. So now we're gonna say res.cookie. So we're responding with a cookie, right? For example, here we're sending a response of 500, right? This one we're gonna send a response with a cookie response, and that's gonna be saved to the browser. That's all we're doing. So this cookie is gonna say auth token. Yeah, let's keep it camel case. Auth token, which is going to be the name of our cookie. That's what it is. When this auth token is the name of our cookie, and this cookie is going to hold the actual token that was created, right? So that's what this token is. And we're going to give it a few parameters. We're going to say the path is this, HTTP only, meaning the front end can't manipulate or access our cookie using JavaScript. That's it. That's all this means. And the reason this is nice is because now we're not susceptible to different types of attacks because the cookie can only be set in the browser. The cookie can only be accessed in the server, not the browser. So if you can type in document.cookie all you want within the front end, it's not going to show you anything because you can't manipulate it. That's all this is. And this is very nice for, I think it's cross site attack, XSS or something like that. Let's see. Cross site scripting. So it's a type of injection or basically it's a security risk. So this is the best way to like combat that. So we don't have to put like secure, true, or same site or anything like that at this moment because we're not in production. It's still local. So we just keep it at this. And for catch error. Oh, no, sorry. Then let's do that, and then let's respond with a status of, because remember we're still logging in, of 200, and the status of 200 is going to say JSON message. And remember, everyone wants to see that status of 200. Login successful. So we are successfully logged in. Awesome. Now error, what we're going to say is catch console.log error, and we're going to say res.status 500 with the message of you done messed up, server. Message of server error. Awesome. So let's see if all this actually works. So we've done a lot. Now let's see if it works. So now, oh, actually it's not going to work at this moment because we did not export it to, so we have exports.login. Now we have to go to what the hell, user routes. There it is. So now I'm just going to go routes. So it's also going to be a post method slash login, and it's going to have the data login. So it's just going to auto import here. And now we're done. So now if we go, so remember it's going to be /auth/login. So now if we go over to this, let's create another one. It's going to be another post. No, we don't need this. Except we're going to say /login. So let's put in the data that we had before. It's going to be raw and it's going to be JSON. So we're going to say username. Cool. So username, password. What did we say it was? Test 1. Test 1, correct. And the password, I believe we just said test, right? So let's see what we get if we send this. Ooh, did not get a response. What happened? Oh man, spelling always gets me. Why can I not spell? Okay, so we should be straight. So let's see. Boom. Whoa. Exports.login. Oh, okay. So it comes back to kick me in the butt. So in the env, I guess I'm just gonna have to change my password again. So I forgot to put the secret. So secret, I'm just gonna put test. Don't do that. Just put the other secret in, because don't do that. Put the long stringy secret in. I'm just doing that right now just because. And it says login successful. And as you can see, it brought a cookie with it. And the name of this cookie is auth token. And this is the value of the cookie. As you can see, it expires session. This is the path. HTTP only is false, which is what we want. And secure is false, meaning it's not a HTTPS. Like that's what all secure does. It's just HTTPS. So remember, you want the HTTP only to be true. Wait, hold up. So
music licensing reimagined.
Give me 1 second. Let me check something real fast. Now, so max age, which is basically expires in, and we're gonna say 36 1 2 3 4 5. So this means an hour. So in an hour this is gonna expire. That's all this means. So if we try this again and send, so header, so our cookie is set at this, blah 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 blah. Okay, so now this is our cookie. So, is this supposed to be false? That's the problem now. Let's see. Okay, so for some reason, this just says HTTP only is false, secure is false. And here we have secure being false, which makes sense because this is through HTTP, not HTTPS. HTTP only is set to true here. I think it's just due to Postman. So we can further see if this actually worked when we use when we do it front end facing. So when we create the React app, so you can just leave it at this. So just make sure to have secure is false and max age this. So all we know for right now is that when we go to the response here, we can see that the message, it says server error, login successful. There we go. So all we see is that the message says login successful. So we can deal with this later. So login successful. That's all we need to see. Now, just so we can make things go a little faster, what we're gonna do is create our authenticate controller. So let's just finish up this auth controller, and what we're gonna be saying is export dot authenticate, which is equal to async request response. Cool. And what authenticate does is now it's going to check to see if this token is actually present anytime you want to do something. So now we're going to say request.cookies. So we're going into the cookies and we're checking to see if there's an auth token. So if the name auth token is there. Awesome. Now, if we have this auth token, if we don't have, we always want to do if we don't have first. So that way we don't have to put else. So if there's no auth token, once again, we want to return 401 res.status 401. And what this is saying, like we've been talking about, is, hey, yo, you're not giving me anything to work with here, browser. Browser. Why? Because the browser saves the cookie. How do you spell authentication? Failed. There we go. And we're gonna say token is missing. So there's no token. So there's no cookie. So the browser holds the cookie, and the token is with the cookie encapsulates the token. So the token is within the cookie. So if there's no cookie and if there's no token, then there's no cookie, and that means it's a front end error. It's a browser error. So that means there's something going on with authentication that isn't attaching the token to that individual, to the user who's logged in. So we would have to go backwards. So that's what this is saying. But if there is if there is a token, if our token does exist, we're going to say const decoded token. So we need to decode that token. And the way we decode the token is similar to the way we compare a hashed and an unhashed password. Except here we're going to be using JWT instead of bcrypt. So jwt.verify, and we're going to be verifying auth token secret. Yeah. Okay. And once again, we'll see what this means in a second. So now we want user ID to equal decoded token dot user ID. So if you want to get the user, const user equals await user dot find by ID user ID. Okay, so we just said a bunch of jargon. What does it mean? What we said is, if there's no token, then the front end, there's an error in the front end, like the browser's messing up, so there's a token missing. However, if there's no token missing, what we can do is we can try and get that decoded token. So how do we do that? We verify that the token, the name of the token and the secret, well, from the name of the token, the secret has not been tampered with. There is a clear secret that is shared with the server. Now, since it's already decoded, we can unravel that token. What was the payload within the token? The payload was user ID, which is this user ID. So this was the payload. So now when we decode the token, we're removing that user ID from the decoded token. And from there, we're going to create another variable called user that's going to find the name of the user. Well, that's going to find the user via find by ID. That's pretty much what's going on. So now we can say console.log. Oh, this should also have a next. So this should have a next because it's an authentication. So it should be able to go to the next middleware if this is correct. So now we're going to say console.log. We're going to say error. And we're going to say res.status 500. And we all know what that means. That's what we don't want to see. It means server error. So message is, hey, it's on us now. It's the server's problem. Server error. So we have to come back here and see what's wrong with the server. Okay, so that's pretty much how you authenticate. So if you plug this in next to any other controller or middleware, it would have to do this first. And then if this works, if all this works, then it goes on to the next piece of middleware. So we're going to do that. Oh, hold up. I did not finish this. So we try this. Now we're going to say we didn't finish if there's a user. If there is a user, so if we're able to get this user, we want to return res.status. So respond with a status of 400. Wait, if there is not a user, sorry. Respond with a status of 400. So we don't have a user, status of 400, 401. 400 actually. It's just telling us there's an error. So 400 JSON message. It's just saying user not found. So it's just an error saying user not found. Cool. But if there is a user, we're taking that token and we're going to create a token expiration and new date, and we're going to say decoded token.exp, and we're going to multiply that by 1,000. And the reason we're doing this is we're trying to see if this token is expired. If it's expired, it's no longer useful. So we're trying to see if this token is expired, and we're taking the token expiration and we're multiplying it by 1,000 because JavaScript uses milliseconds. So we're taking that and we're changing it from seconds because token is set as seconds here, and we're changing it to milliseconds. So we're multiplying 1,000 to it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say if that token expiration is less than or equal to new date, which is the time now, then we want to return status of 401.json. And what does that mean? Once again, we're going to blame the server. We're going to blame the front end, which is awesome, which I'm just joking. It's not our fault. Is talking as a server, as someone building out the server, it's like, hey, it's not my fault. You gave me an expired, what do you call it? Token. So that's your problem. Token expired. So you shall not pass kind of thing. Token expired. However, if the token is not expired, then we're just going to require the user ID, which is equal to user ID. That's all we're doing. And we go over to the next. Voila. And we're done. So here we're saying, well, if it's not expired, then just give me the user ID and let me work with that. That's pretty much what we're saying. So this user ID is going to be able to be passed on from this middleware on to the next. That's all it's saying. That's why we have next year. It goes from here to authenticate, and then it pushes stuff on to the next one. And then we can have exports dot user info. So here's where we get things like, okay, who signed in? What's the name of this person? How do we render this person's information on the screen? Why can I not spell async request response? Awesome. Const user ID is equal to request dot user ID. Remember? Okay, so now we have the user ID. What we want to do is go to try, and we want to say const user is equal to await, and we're trying to get the user now. User dot find, this should be a capital, because now we're querying the database and saying user find by ID. And remember what we have now? We have the user ID. Oh. So we have the user ID, and we're going to say if, once again, there's no user. You always want to say there's not first. We're just going to return res.status of 100.json with message of user not found. So it wouldn't even get to this point. So, but we just have to put that there for, why? What am I doing? User not found. You want to make it capital? No. So let's not make this capital. So user not found. Something brokest. Oh, we don't have catch. So, and then catch. Cool. Error. All right. Console.log error. So now we're going to say, so if there's no user, we're returning this. If there is a user, we're going to say res.status of 200, right? .json. So now we're going to be sending the username to the front end, user.username. And we're going to be catching the error, console logging the error, status 500.json message. This is an object message of, you guessed it, server error. Yep, everything works. Everything's copacetic. So let's go over to, let's close that out. Let's go over to index.js. Let's see, not index.js, routes. So now we can have routes.get, because it's going to be a get, and we're going to say /user info. And then remember, in order to access this user info, we have to be authenticated. So we get the authentication, and if we are authenticated, we're able to get the user's information, and the user's information is the username. That's all we want. So that's that. So let's get one last thing. Let's do the logout, right? So let's create the logout feature. Exports.logout. So this might be a little longer than I wanted it to be, but we're able to do a lot here rather than just keep breaking it and segmenting the videos down. So we can just do this, try res.clear cookie. So for logout, what we want to do is we just want to clear the cookie. That's it. Like, all right, you're logged out, the cookie should be clear. So we want to take auth token, because that's the name of the cookie. We want to say comma, and we want to say path, right? And then we want to say HTTP only. We want to set that to true. So what we're doing here is we're just mirroring what we did up here, except we're not putting anything within, like we're just clearing the cookie. We're clearing this cookie, but instead of setting the cookie. So the other one was res.cookie. So response.cookie. This one's response.clearCookie. Max age is 0. We don't want anything. Secure is false. Dope. And where did we do wrong? Oh, because we don't have a catch. So, and then we're gonna say that's within our try still. Let's just put the catch. Error. Cool. What else? Res.status. Now we're gonna say res.status 200, and we always want to see a 200. So JSON object message is log out successful or something. Log out successful. I'm pretty sure I spelled that right. So now we're gonna say console.log error, and we're gonna say res.status. That's the one we don't want to see. 500, and it's your fault. It's the server fault. You can't blame the front end. So server error, and everything's copacetic. Everything's working. So we just finished up everything for authentication and authorization, technically, in the backend. So actually, let's just do this also. So we're just gonna say routes.get/logout, and it's just gonna be logout. You would need to be authenticated to log out. So we have this part done. So as you can see, everything, it should be working properly. I don't think we request anything here. Yeah, we just responding. So we're just sending responses. So we have everything here. So on our next video, it's going to be more React focused. So we're going to be using the front end portion to build out the front end, to build out the forms and all that stuff, all that good stuff. I will be changing my secret by that point. So yeah, so all that's going to be done in the front end in terms of so we're just going to be creating this, the register portion and the sign in, see, as you can see, and the sign in portion. We're going to be creating all that. The nav bar, we're going to be doing that in the front end. And then I think in a third video, then we will start implementing the saved feature. So the second video, part 2 is going to have this pretty much. And then it's also going to have, let's just sign in so we see what we're talking about. So okay, so it's going to take a while because it's a free server. So, you know, when it's free, it takes a while. Videos. So the third video, oh, there we go. Now it works. So, so we're going to have this part done in the second video. We're going to have the layout for all this and the layout for all this. And then the third video, we can work on the saved portion. So we won't work on a saved in the second video. We'll work on a saved in the third video. And all saved is just doing this. It would make more sense after we work after we work extensively with the database, because that's all that's going on here. This is coming straight from the database. So that's what we're going to be doing. But in the second video, it's going to be more front end focused. We're just building out everything, trying to make sure the format that we want is right. We're trying to make sure everything is responsive, giving everything basically purpose. So yeah, all that. But yeah, I'm tired. I'm hungry. So I will see you guys on the next video. Please don't forget to subscribe and comment and like the video if you do enjoy this. I'm really trying to grow this channel. I'm trying to upload a little bit more than I would regularly, like in terms of quantity. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. There's more to come. It should be at least 3 parts minimum, let me put it that way. Now if we get lucky and it goes 2 parts, then awesome, but it should be at least 3 parts. So I will see you guys on the next one. Don't forget once again to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.